Good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be here to share some of my work related to virtual learning environments and digital storytelling. But first, thanks Dave and JR for organizing the workshop, and Ryan for inviting me here to speak specifically on this work. So, really quickly, as Ryan was saying, my name is Hollett, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Learning and Performance Systems at Penn State University Park. Specifically, I'm in a program called Learning, Design, and Technology. And even more specifically, I'm what's called learning scientist. So really broadly, I study how people learn. I'm also a former high school English teacher, and so some of the work that you'll see here sort of builds from that career as a former high school English teacher. So typically, I do research and work with secondary students or even adolescent students. Some of the work now at University Park, I am moving more towards the college classroom, but so you're going to see some work here that's me working with middle schoolers as well as high school students. And I think the storytelling aspect is really going to be prevalent here. We'll start out with some STEM work. I worked at a STEM charter school, but I think you'll just see storytelling in virtual environments really across a broad spectrum here. And so my goal for you is just to kind of share a lot of these stories and see what sticks for you as you go out and meet with your groups and begin to develop your proposals as well. So my talk today is called Storytelling Across Digital and Physical Spaces, from schools and libraries to cities and farms. And so just a quick background of myself before I dive in. So I focus on learning and youth digital culture. So for instance, if I think about Minecraft as kind of the epitome of youth digital culture right now. Oftentimes these settings are interest-driven, so I follow sort of youth passions and let them guide some of that learning. And they're cross-contextual. So I look for learning settings that are not necessarily bound and contained by, say, a classroom, but looking at learning that's going to move across settings, so from the home to maybe an outside of school setting to the classroom as well. Typically, I study and design technology-enhanced informal learning settings. So today you'll hear a little bit about learning with Minecraft in an after-school library setting, for example. And I do ethnographic work in alternative learning settings. So most recently, I've been studying youth learning with digital media in the action sports community. So I've been hanging out with skateboarders and BMX riders, as well as the videographers and photographers that work alongside them. And just broadly, so you have a sense of how I go about learning and how I view it. I view learning as shifts in the use of tools. So this can be cultural tools or cognitive tools, or problem solving, sense making, or performance. So oftentimes I care about who a learner is becoming, not necessarily what they learn, who they're becoming, how that identity is shifting over time. Just some projects that I've been a part of over the past 6 or 7 years. This is some youth working with local architects in Nashville, where I used to be, doing some participatory design work, creating a learning lab. And so this learning lab was at the Nashville Public Library, and it became a digital media studio for them. So it included a space for music and film production, as well as gaming, and a small makerspace as well. I'll speak a bit more today about this program, but this is the program that I then ran at that studio once it was created. It's called Nashville Building Blocks. Essentially, it was using Minecraft to introduce youth to issues related to urban planning in the Nashville community. And I touched on this just earlier, but these are just some photos from some work I've done with youth action sports and digital media. One of the key things there is really looking at these partnerships between skaters and the videographers that they work with. And so these sort of reflective cycles that skateboarders and videographers enter into, these really rich partnerships. So in my talk today, I want to tell the story of some of the projects that I've been involved in throughout my career. And for each one, I'll lead with a guiding question. And so this isn't necessarily a research question, but more of a curiosity that we had going into this work. And so from that point, I'm going to describe the project, and then I'll wrap up each one with a summary of some of the key ideas that guided that project for me. So the first one here is what we call STEM 3686. And so this research project took place at a charter school that was STEM focused. It had just opened up. This was about 2012 actually. And so we were just working with a small group of students to create what we call the digital media enrichment course. And it was mostly focused on mobile devices. And it sounds weird now, it was the iPod Touch is what they were working with, which I don't even know if that exists anymore. But we were looking to expand forms of storytelling and composition for these students, but really curious about the relationship between mobility and mobile devices and their storytelling. So the guiding question for us in this project was, what if the school could speak? And so in kind of working towards answering that question, we ran through a variety of activities with the students. So first it was just simply taking and editing images. And that built towards composing stories by layering the digital over the physical with the Flat Stanley application. And so I'll talk a bit about this today. This is like super early augmented reality, testing it out, but basically that digital Flat Stanley, if you know the Flat Stanley story, people traveling carry a paper cutout with them to different places. With this, you could just layer the digital Flat Stanley on top of anything. We also did audio recordings of an image-only graphic novel, and then created QR codes to those audio recordings so students could listen to one another's work and interpretations. We also documented important people, places, and things throughout the school. And this led to creating a digital brochure of the school through those images, through video, audio, and QR codes. And one of the students that I'll talk a bit about today is Adela. Adela has taped QR codes all over her body from that graphic novel project. But I want to share with you her story that she created with this Flat Stanley augmented reality application initially. And it's also just really cute, so I think it's worth hearing.
My thought was like, this is my house and my neighbor. Today I'm going to walk on the muddy railroad. I am going with my shopping buddy. Hello, Stephen. When we were walking, we saw a little Lucy head statue that has orange hair and an architecture. Then I'm back to go to the house because they're helping me.
So it seems like a really simple story about the toys that she had with her and that she created, that she led her Flat Stanley character around them. But some things really stood out to us as we began to think more about this. So the first is that the storytelling potential of things or of objects. And so some literacy researchers, Kate Paul and Jennifer Russell, talk about artifactual literacies, or the belief that every object tells a story. That's a way to tap into these out-of-school identities that are often dismissed as students enter the classroom. But also key to Adela's story was her mobility, which was another key idea for us and something that's important to me in my research. So we went back through the video data and began to trace the mobility that facilitated Adela's story. And so I actually used the video game The Sims to basically recreate our class and then position her throughout the classroom. So we found that there was this intimate connection between her mobility, her encounters with various things, and the emergence of the story that she wanted to tell. So stories like Adela's were born less from the mind alone, and more from this intimate connection between her body moving, sensing, and feeling narrative potential in her immediate surroundings. So we began thinking more about what we call mobility scripts that operate in school settings. Who can move, when they can move, where they can move, how fast they can move. There's really a lot of time spent, when you think about it, disciplining kids' bodies, their mobilities, and especially in charter schools, for instance, in terms of youth of color as well. So even in this image right here, this charter school specifically used blue painter's tape to note where students could walk. And so you could literally walk out of line. And also these blue painter's tape dots were where students would line up. And when Adela had the sort of free reign to move wherever she wanted to go right to her dot. She wanted to begin taking pictures from her dot and capturing images from there. So Adela's typical script, as she put it, was that we only go to classrooms during school and the cafeteria and the storage closets. I don't know if storage closets was one of the main points of mobility, but she then said that when she was moving throughout the classroom, sort of creating her story, that she was seeking places that she only peeked into through the window. And so this led to, in the end, a QR code-driven brochure at the school that sort of documented important people, places, things. She specifically focused on suspenseful encounters in her storytelling, those places that seemed kind of off limits to her previously. And this is, I mean, again, this is 2012, but we were using audio recording apps like Audio Boo. Instagram at this point didn't even have like a video component, so we were using Viddy for video and Instagram specifically for some of those images. We break this down to some of the key ideas for design. One of them is definitely mobility, about that movement, about even confronting some of those mobility scripts that were in place in that school and challenging them a little bit. And for me, this ties into ideas of placemaking. Oftentimes schools are thought to be sort of done, and there's one authoritative script of what can be done in school, or what you can learn, or what time you learn. But by kind of sort of replacing school, by moving through it, telling the story that they wanted to tell, we think about that as an act of placemaking. The brochure that they created with their stories, with their sort of things that they consider to be important, people, places, even stains on ceilings or power outlets that they want to tell stories about, we think about as counter-mapping, as sort of pushing against, again, that authoritative script or map of the school and creating their own. And the last sort of main idea, if we go back to Adela's sort of augmented reality, Flat Stanley, is just the role of materiality, that these things tell stories. So she saw stories all around her, not necessarily something that was in her head, a story that she was going to write down, but one that was driven by all of her surroundings too. So the role of things or materiality has been important for us. So the next story that I want to tell is about Nashville building blocks. So again, Nashville Building Blocks was a program that I created at the Nashville Public Library, in which youth were using Minecraft to sort of enter into issues related to urban planning. And a guiding question there was, how can gameplay provide pathways towards urban planning and civic engagement? So just a quick image here of what a typical day would look like for us. We were in a small room at this point playing, so there were about 6 computers in the room that we would all play simultaneously in room together, but we were also operating on a server together too for Minecraft. And so learners were using Minecraft as a means to participate in authentic forms of urban planning that were going on in Nashville at that time. Just a quick example with some of that down.
We have a camera right now.
Multiple people playing together.
All I've been doing is placing these.
The audio is in the top right corner.
1, 2,
Yeah, it was interesting.
Four.
You're the only one so I'm gonna look here. I'm gonna take some apps out.
Right, as soon as I work in the building.
Oh wait, no, wait. Hold it. Don't. Cause Hume Fog, they're not. Hume Fog's not like. Yeah, it's just Hume Fog's only got it like that.
Man, we need the lower dude. That's like the lower highway.
Oh, cause the courtyard. Ah, jeez.
So just one thing that's really happening here is this collaborative joint artifact creation that I think is so powerful in Minecraft. And so you see them sort of working through it together, finding problems that they're encountering, realizing they're going to have to fix it, and then potentially basically break down their entire school all over again and rebuild it. But this idea of collaborative joint artifact creation, I think, is something really important. So throughout the program, they created things like single-family homes, an elliptical style school, so even challenging what schools would typically look like. Oftentimes using something like Google Street View on the right side here to recreate downtown streets on the left. Or building bridges with a scenic sunset. But as the program went on, we realized we needed to scale down a little bit. So they started out with this building all of Nashville. We realized we needed to break it down to like the level of a neighborhood. And so there was a neighborhood called Casey Place, which was basically going through a form of revitalization at that time. And so we began to use the actual documents that actual planners were using. And so if a proposed plan, for instance, was calling for open space, we would design open spaces. So this is Malik's design of an open park space. If a proposed plan was calling for a focus on sustainability, we began to think about what would farming look like there. I think also that there were stories, and this is part of the beauty of Minecraft, is that there are stories embedded within all of these builds. Not only the story of the build, but what it could potentially mean for us in this context, in this given setting. So here was, the students were building a train station together. And so the story of that train station was powerful, about what it could mean for that community. Or even sort of recreating buildings that were present, but with their own twists. So we see the real bridge building on the top with the sort of revamped Minecraft version on the bottom. But sort of, again, that idea of sort of challenging what's been produced through their own designs, I think was really interesting. And again, this idea that Minecraft is always about joint artifact creation. So here on the left, we have students in all different areas within the server world, but all coming together to work on this train station at one time. And so it's about working together, about adding your own spin, your own twist on something as well. One part that I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about in terms of storytelling in Minecraft, though, is what are called adventure maps. So I just want to give you some examples here. But adventure maps basically are a really important part of Minecraft culture, and they basically are not, I guess, they're linear stories that are told within Minecraft. So it's almost like a game within a game. Players will often design how users are going to move, with whom they interact, what they must conquer, those kind of things. So I'm going to show you really quickly. So this is one world, a full world with its own story that was created by youth, not in my program. If you search Rise of the Pigmen, you'll find this online. But students, or actually any Minecraft player, will be able to create this world, and so you recognize sort of connections to fantasy narratives with places like Moronis, Bloodshine, Core Value, Goldhaven, Winterhold. And so sort of either it's Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones references scattered throughout, but when you play these adventure maps, you'll encounter, say, non-player characters that will lead you towards certain goals that you have to achieve, bosses that you have to battle. And so part of that open-endedness of Minecraft is what makes it so powerful, in the sense that not only are you just creating and building, but adventure maps lead to all kinds of storytelling that's happening as well. So when I think back to this National Building Blocks project, one of the key ideas for me is what Lewis Moll talks about as funds of knowledge. And I actually call this embodied funds of knowledge. That oftentimes youth were drawing on their own experiences, walking through the city, walking through their neighborhoods, and then sort of recreating those experiences within the Minecraft world. There's also an element of placement in here, of creating the Nashville that they wanted, the Nashville they envisioned for themselves. And that leads back to this countermapping, speaking back to those authoritative powers, who oftentimes are telling kids where they can walk, where they can go, and not actually involving them in the urban planning process that much as well. Another key idea for me here is connected learning. So Mimi Ito and colleagues have sort of put this idea out there, but that interest-driven nature, and the openly networked nature of it. So interest-driven being that youth are really following their passion for Minecraft, but leading it towards authentic urban planning initiatives. And that openly networked idea of it being related to perhaps what was going on in school. They could play from home, they could play from the library, all of which would lead to different experiences. And therefore it was academically oriented. This could easily fall into a, say, geography curriculum. But also have forms of civic engagement built into it as well. And to come back to this idea of collaborative production of joint artifacts. Very rarely was a student playing by themselves. They would recognize a build that was going on, and they would be able to bring their own twist, their own unique perspective to it. And lastly, an idea that's important to me is that of scale. And so I think about the dilation of this scale of the local Nashville building that was happening, even at a neighborhood level, but then also this global Minecraft community and culture that students were also a part of. So related to thinking about the city, thinking about stories told within the city, this next project is one that was ongoing while I was a graduate student at Vanderbilt University with a member of the lab that I was a part of. And part of that group was called SLAM, so it stood for Spatial Learning and Mobility. And the project that they were working on was called BLUES, and it stood for Bridging Learning in Urban Extended Spaces. And so one guiding question that our group had was, how can historical archived material extend outward and into the city? And this project stems from two really rich sources of material that we have there in Nashville. And so one is a fantastic civil rights room at the Nashville Public Library. And the second is the Country Music Hall of Fame. So there's all this rich, deep history, both civil rights and country music, sometimes which even overlap, that we were thinking, how can we get that outside of these sort of four walls of the library or of the museum itself? And so the BLUES group, and this is work right now with Rogers Hall and Dave Owens, Andy Hostetler, Jen Kahn, Ben Shapiro, and Lauren Vogelstein, began to explore one area of North Nashville, which is called Jefferson Street. I'm just going to quickly read off from this diagram here. It says that Nashville's Jefferson Street was once home to a vibrant music row that featured artists including Ray Charles and Jimi Hendrix. And then in the 1960s, Interstate 40 destroyed this music row. And so what they've tried to do here is sort of recreate what Music Row and Jefferson Street looked like and sounded like back in the 60s, especially after that I-40 ran through and essentially destroyed and fractured that neighborhood. So the group has been, pop out here for a second so I can show you this. So they've been archiving stories of those who lived on Jefferson Street at that time. And using the program here, Live Tracker, to plot some of those stories along. So I just want to play one so you get a sense of what that's like.
Well, this is actually beneath the bridge that's being redesigned as a kind of a monument to some of the movers and shakers, innovators, people who lived and worked and created on Jefferson Street. And that's pretty awesome right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of those people I'm not familiar with that were here years before I moved to Nashville, which was in 1972, all the way. Been commuting back and forth and playing and hanging out on Jefferson Street. They had obviously included a lot of people who were just well known, and then some who were not, but were some of the original.
So I'll stop there, but just this idea to me that's so fascinating is stories that are lost, stories that are potentially never regained, and whose story is able to be told here. And so this stories along Jefferson Street have typically been forgotten. Buildings that once were jazz clubs have been turned into restaurants, and oftentimes as that infrastructure changes around the community, those stories change, become lost as well. And so by moving through, and again this idea of mobility, sort of moving through and having stories told alongside that movement, able to sort of recapture those. So even coming back to some of these key ideas, the first again is of mobility for me. These mobile stories that are linked specifically to locations specific neighborhoods or places. This idea of it being openly networked, that institutionally making these connections to the Country Music Hall of Fame, as well as to the Nashville Public Library. The idea of scale comes back. Now, not only like the scale of a neighborhood or a community, but even a very specific city street. And what I think about it as historic resuscitation through storytelling. And so these stories that have essentially died out are able to be brought back to life through this storytelling, specifically alongside those points along Jefferson Street. So in this final project, I'll describe some initial work in virtual reality that I've been putting together alongside a team at TLT at University Park. And so the guiding question here in thinking about sustainable virtual reality is how can virtual reality provide a venue to experience issues related to sustainability? And so what the group at TLT has been doing, especially Zach Zidek, has been doing amazing work in VR for us. This initial one, we started to just wonder how can one learn more about the travels of a banana from point of origin to a final destination, say at a grocery store. And so we're not going for verisimilitude here. We have actually experts of banana travel here in this room, but we're trying to use the affordances of virtual reality to engage people's bodies in new ways that creates potentially different forms of empathy related to food travel and even food production as well. So what Zach's created here is, and you're looking at, is basically an arena in which the banana, as simple as it sounds, is going to be moving from being picked and then thinking through different forms of transportation that the banana might have to take. So whether it's by boat, by airplane, or by train. So I'll just run through some images here. But initial image in which the user is actually forced to climb a tree to first get the banana and place it into a box. And so again, Zach has created more of like a game-like atmosphere here, but next the user would have to go into this rowboat and physically begin rowing to move this box from one point out through that door and the next point. So one thing that's happening here now is, and I've like been testing this out, as you get tired, you become fatigued. And so bodies now, or like our body is activated in a way that it previously wouldn't be. So part of that rowing. And the next is, if we think more about flight, and actually what's happening here is the user has to flap these wings up and down, and will actually fly up in the air. But all along you're seeing, one, the box is moving along, but there's also a globe there in the corner, and so you're starting to recognize now the connections between that box moving from one country to the next over time. Again, all of that activated by the user as they're either flapping or rowing. So we get an example of even the landscape passing below you as you're flying in the air. And the last part is beginning to look at how many miles this banana has actually had to travel from one point to the other. So in a second area here too now, we're also playing with different stories that can be told. So the banana story itself, and using virtual reality to think about the travel banana, is much more game-like. And so in this section here with Byler Goat Farm, we've partnered with a local goat farmer, Jim Byler, and trying to tell his story using 360-degree video within this virtual reality environment. So just want to play two quick videos that we captured as we went out to Jim Byler's farm. So this is 360 video right at Jim's goat farm. We get a chance to see Jim even feeding his goats. I think part of what I love about this is, I mean, even just hearing those goats. Oftentimes, we think about, and a lot of this inspiration came from, I mean, you go to a grocery store or even a farmer's market and the food is present, you go, you pick it up. But even when I talked with Jim, he just began to describe all the work that even comes with setting up his stand at the farmer's market, the hours that he spends driving back and forth. And then more and more as we got to talk more about the work that he does every single day throughout the year in order to be able to go to those markets. And so I'll play one other quick video that we did. These are the bigger goats. Dan actually captured this video with the 360 camera, and so he was in stalls with the goats. I know in a later session you'll hear more about the storytelling potential of 360 video, but these are different kinds of stories. In some ways maybe they're slower paced stories. They're more about the mundane moments. But I also think that there's a key idea here of user agency, of being able to take on different perspectives, to be able to explore some of those perspectives as well. Key for me though is this idea that I don't think VR or the VR experience is the end all be all. So a final layer of this project is inspired by thinking regarding what's called boundary crossing or boundary objects. And so one question that I have is, how does the VR experience lead learners towards taking specific actions, expanding their interests, as well as their identifications related to issues related to sustainability? And how can the issue of experience in VR be expanded upon in other settings with other like-minded people? So for me, this leads to a shift that's away from immersive learning environments, which oftentimes can be bound and contained, and towards what I think about as immersive learning ecologies. So how might we, for example, use the VR experience as a boundary object that leads to learning opportunities with Penn State's Sustainability Institute, or at a local farm, and at the university garden, and to potentially back into the VR experience. So I think about what might a virtual reality experience that can emerge over time look like, as opposed to one that is sort of done and completed in 5 minutes. So just some forward thinking in terms of VR. How does VR experience become embedded within expanded learning ecology? And how can VR experiences emerge and expand themselves, allowing re-entry and further exploration that, in turn, propels learners towards additional learning opportunities? So just some key ideas for design that I have there. Throughout VR, I mean, that idea of embodiment, but activating bodies. So I'm less concerned, again, about the verisimilitude necessarily, but more about activating bodies in ways that bodies are not accustomed to be moving or acting in their learning experiences. We also have, again, that idea of scale. So from the local to the global as well. There's that sense, especially within 360 video, of narrative agency, of being able to move and choose where you're going to look, what directions, what almost stories you want to create as you are using that 360 video. And it is a buzzword in virtual reality, but that focus on empathy. And I think there are unique stories from unique perspectives that are able to be told. And lastly, thinking about learning ecologies. And so a big fear of mine, and sort of as we're working through this virtual reality project, is we've spent 1 year creating a 5-minute experience that somebody puts on a headset and takes it off, and that's it. And so I guess one challenge is how, even thinking of the workshop over these next 4 days, is if you think about VR, how is there that sense of emergence? How can it not be one and done in a 5-minute experience? How might you be able to re-enter into that virtual reality experience with new goals or objectives with a new perspective, potentially? So as I wrap up here, I just want to come back to these 4 projects that we've just looked at. And I want to just have some lingering questions in terms of, as you all begin to go into your groups, you go through the next 4 days of your workshop, and you come up with some fantastic mock proposals. So questions that I have are, how do virtual learning environments enable learners to have agency over the places and spaces they inhabit? How can learners layer potentially counter narratives over dominant narratives? How can virtual learning environments enable learners to tell stories that are openly networked or that cut across settings? How can VLEs enable storytelling across scales, from that of material things to local goods and to global communities? I'm curious about, these are all things, these are like research questions I want to explore. I'm just throwing them at you all. What's the temporal nature of the experience? So again, is it one and done? Or can it permeate one's life for extended periods of time? And lastly, something that's important to me, how can bodies be involved in the storytelling process? So I think as this track continues to explore digital storytelling, I would ask, what does embodied storytelling look like? And how can we maybe further explore that? With those lingering questions, I will stop. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I look forward to any questions that you might have.
My question is, in some of your digital stories, I don't see a lot of narratives. So I was just wondering how important it is to incorporate these narratives into stories.
Yeah, I mean, part of it would be pedagogically. I don't think I was always looking for like a full or cohesive narrative, but I wanted those opportunities to be at least present for narratives to potentially be told. And so I think, maybe a good example there is 360 video. I think storytelling in 360 video is something that we don't know what that's going to look like. There's not necessarily specific points that are going to be followed. I imagine even that Jim Byler video, there's so much freedom to say, I want to look at this goat, or I want to look at his work. Later we did a video with his wife Darla, who was putting stickers on every single block of cheese. And so you begin to follow that and think more deeply about the work that's involved there. But yeah, I think we're kind of at a point where there's a lot of narrative flexibility in that sense, that it may not be as streamlined as we're accustomed to, and maybe more linear, text-based forms of storytelling.
I was wondering, could you speak more about, like you talked a lot about embodiments and mobility. Could you talk more about why you're interested in that and why that's a focus?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, so that very first, like Adela's narrative, the flat stand story came from an initial interest in just mobile devices. So at that stage, mobile devices were like fairly new to schools in 2012. And so we were just wondering, what does it look like to tell stories with mobile devices? And so what we had to get away from was that mobile devices, when kids were using them in classrooms, they were oftentimes using them like a laptop, like Daniel sitting there right now. They used them as sedentary devices. And so they wanted to, one, they didn't want to break them. Two, they were unaccustomed to actually being able to move. And we realized that was sort of holding back the stories that they were able to tell. And so that's where that was born. I think then it began to also, as I showed in that one image of like this blue tape has haunted me throughout my career of typically, I mean, yeah, charter schools that have disciplined youth bodies in really, I think, disastrous ways, that think that that children of color need to be further disciplined by placing a blue piece of painter's tape on the floor to say where they can go. I think that's a real issue. And I think it's a deep, deep issue, but it's also an issue of like disciplining one's body in ways that not only lead them to not be able to tell the stories that they want within a school setting, but of disciplined bodies throughout throughout our country, throughout the world, of who can move where, when they can move, how fast they can move, all of that. So I think mobility, to me, is a way to, if you expand mobility, you begin to expand ways of sort of speaking back to those dominant narratives, but dominant mobilities that are present too. I think there's also a loose connection then to mobility across settings, and so a lot of my work looks at how do you not box and contain learning opportunities within like a classroom setting. And so, I mean, I truly believe learning takes place in all areas, not just in a classroom setting, but sort of that metaphoric mobility as well is present too. I keep going, but yeah, I mean, I think in VR you get all kinds of mobility, but I think that's deeply connected to one's experience. And so I think there's lots of questions for me around issues related to mobility.
So I'm interested in this emergence of empathy being focus for virtual reality. So empathy in storytelling is nothing new. Writers have tried to build empathy for characters or situations for their audiences. But it seems like anything that you read about people developing content through VR or telling stories with pieces of video is a focus on empathy. Why do you think that is, and where does that go in terms of, as educators, building, sort of intentionally trying to build empathy through these experiences? And who gets to decide kind of where that empathy lies, right?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a question for the workshop for like the next 4 days. So, I mean, empathy is definitely this buzzword. As I'm learning more about virtual reality, I learned that empathy is definitely a buzzword there. So, I mean, my initial thought is it's something about the unique perspective that is afforded. There's almost, I mean, there is in some ways a sort of voyeuristic nature on one end, or you could say a new opportunity to see things that you would never be able to see otherwise on another end. So I think, as you all talk more about 360 video, and I think we'll probably dive into this some too, but I remember one of my students, Chris Millay, was in my class, and he wanted to think more about 360 video, and he and I kept talking about what would it be if you put a 360 video camera in the middle of a dinner table of people across cultures, to get a sense not just of like foods, but of just how people talk at dinner tables, the foods they eat. But then as you begin to think about that scale, a scale is obviously important to me. It moves away from dinner table to maybe you get to peek at the picture frames that are on walls, or those that are on desks, on the kinds of utensils that people use. And so I think there's this sort of ability to connect, not just with people, but with the things they use, with the ways they talk, that can potentially be really powerful as well. And so that's kind of one initial answer. But I think empathy is like, again, you can't do it in 5 minutes. You can't throw a headset on somebody and say, now you're empathetic. Like, that's a bunch of, that's not going to work. And so how do you then maybe develop those opportunities over time? I think that's a bigger issue. And I don't know how to think about that much yet.
See, I think you're taking about removing the fear of violating social norms. You know, like I'm not going to, like it's an environment where I can take risks to learn more, even though it might insult somebody if I was doing it in real life when we start talking about developing empathy. But it's fascinating, like you mentioned ideas, be careful. You're sharing good stuff that, you know, we might go running with you. I love the idea of our relationship because every culture, every group eats. And so our relationship with food, whether it's how we consume it or whether it's how we grow it, that's exciting on developing that empathy when you said that. But right off the bat, you started talking like the ideas we've had, and we've gotten in trouble because our fellowships, we'll talk about 360 video, and we kept saying we want to click, we want to zoom, we want to move, we want to empower the viewer to do more things. And that's what we're adding on these other tools. And like in most things in life or in education, we do is probably not just one tool, but rather a mix of all of them. Because I love your idea, okay, how do I empower the learner to maybe participate in the family dinner, but then get up and then move and look at the hall and the pictures, or connect those different experiences, or go to the preparation scene by using some of the work you've been doing like VR. And as I build to the actual question, is like, how do we address this maybe you don't have it, this investment of time and energy to produce these rich learning experiences we want, but then we get burdened down by we spend a year and get 5 minutes out of it. Right? I mean, like, what is your, I don't know, what do you think the pathway there is?
Yeah, I mean, I've become more drawn to 360 video. I think when I first started working with 360 video, I was like, oh, it's like, how different will this be than watching a YouTube video, for instance? But I do think, like, when we went to Jim Byler's farm, and truthfully, maybe that's actually it, it was a vastly different experience going there, and here talking with him about his story, and then like producing that video that I think made much more of those empathetic connections. So I think sometimes, as I'm thinking through an answer right now, it's like, we produce that. So how do you create students who are also potentially producing those stories, as opposed to giving them to them and just dropping and saying, here's this 360 video of these 5 different families over dinner. But how do they maybe make those connections to develop the stories they want to tell, and then build from there. So I think it's a lot about the, like, how do you shift away from consumption of 360 video to further production. But I think that production needs to be, like, I'd say, like, spatio-temporally flexible. Like, it has to be over time. I don't know if I buy like an assignment that does that. And so I think that leads to larger issues around how we conceive of, like, when, where learning happens. And the idea of, like, doing it in creating empathy through production of 360 video in a semester course, I think is problematic as well. So I think we have to challenge that too.
In the real world, if you think about the play, we write a script. In the silo world, if we apply the same principle, how the script will be written. It's before the kind of action or after the action, some mixture.
Yeah.
So a certain scenario should be repeated later according to the script, because it can be a kind of base document for teaching and learning.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I hear about, I think a lot of it, I was the phrase script up there too. I always hope that students challenge scripts a lot, or challenge, especially if I produce a script. I think I like it when it's pushed back against in some way. And so I don't know if I have a good answer in terms of, like, how to, maybe what degree things should be scripted out, but I would always sort of push back and say that I think when scripts are present, there's power dynamics sort of embedded within those scripts, and I like that. I like when students are given the opportunity to sort of challenge that from their own perspective and their own experiences and their own stories as well.
In your experiences working with these different student groups, did you find that there was a certain age where students were better at creating narratives, or did it work more to get them to think about a narrative?
Yeah. The fun part of this is, like, my career is still fairly young, but it's fun, like, thinking back in new ways through a lot of this work. I don't think there is a set age in which there were, like, stories were told in more powerful ways, or when I did aid them more. I mean, if I think about, like, Minecraft culture broadly, and anyone who spent time with a child who's been playing Minecraft, there's, like, endless stories that are being told and created, and no matter what age, really. And if anything, maybe as they've gotten older, it becomes more about, like, specific architectural designs that they're creating, and less about the story of the world that they're inhabiting. But I think, yeah, different ages are going to have different ways of telling stories and different stories that they want to tell. I think the younger children weren't directly pushing back against the school as they were telling narratives about it, but they had their own stories that were present. So I think, yeah, age is going to be, I think it's just going to be unique, different narratives, different stories that are told across those ages. But as long as it's in some ways offering them their own perspective, and again, sort of push back against that script that might be present, I think that's incredibly powerful.
Thank you for your presentation, and many of your themes resonated with me in the research that I've done using avatars for identity, whether it's for medical simulation, for team collaboration, or whether it's for military professionalism, and then now experimenting with my own family, my own grandchildren, using Open Simulator. So Minecraft has some of the mechanics that Open Simulator does not have, but we're hoping to be able to build in some of the mechanics into Open Simulator so that we can combine that life-wide kind of learning to bridge the informal with the formal, and then the physical and the virtual worlds. So I look forward to following up with you. I'll probably be on Twitter to see kind of how this works.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me think a little bit about the conversation Dave and I were having before things got going. He said he was speaking with somebody yesterday about Second Life and just like why Second Life never really took off.
Well, Open Simulator is running on the wireless, and you can access it on Lumina on your phone if you have an Android phone.
In essence, this is an open source version of Second Life.
Okay.
Jump from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so powerful is that, I mean, we were thinking about like, first time I went into Second Life, used Second Life was like 2008. I was actually a master's student in English department at Penn State. And I remember just, it was like the most exciting thing that ever happened to me. And then, yeah, it kind of went away. And we're saying there was that unique time period in which like social media hadn't really taken off yet. The sort of metagame that surrounds Minecraft now wasn't necessarily present with Second Life, but that, I mean, Dave said it, like you're watching your daughters play. You thought they were playing, but they're actually watching other people play. And so that's maybe one thing it reminds me of. It's like, how does that metagame, the game that surrounds the game, maybe develop more around Open Simulator? And I think that's the really rich cultural component of Minecraft that moves beyond just simple gameplay, but it's that cultural component that surrounds it too.
Getting back, you talked about the Second Life. I remember JR literally used the Second Life to teach cybersecurity. So if I throw away the technology about learning about the technology, teaching them, how effective do you think this? How the VR could play a role? A lot of the video I've seen is maybe share with everyone that wants to experience like go farmer. What are the things they do? People learn about it. And it's the other way around, teaching the people about, maybe K through 12 about why cybersecurity is important and what the impact could have. And there are a lot of other, like machine learning, cloud, and a lot of other new technologies out there. So, what do you thought on that?
So on about like using virtual reality to teach some of those specific components?
Technology,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's such a young age for virtual reality right now that I don't quite know what is possible. I think that's where, like right now, I'm getting a chance to play with just like an idea of sustainability broadly, and to say, how do we actually change the kinds of, like, change people's identities to a certain degree? I think it's right now there is a lot of like sort of just really recreating specific learning scenarios. I know like in the medical industry, people are using it to sort of almost experience like what surgery might look like, for instance. But I think Zach Zidek at TLT is always like, is this worthy of like virtual reality? Like, what are the capabilities of virtual reality that enable it to be a powerful medium for whatever you need? And so I think that's been key for us. It's like, this idea of like where a banana moves from. I mean, we talked a lot about that, but it's about engaging the body using virtual reality in ways that, like watching a video, we wouldn't be able that wouldn't be a productive medium for that necessarily. So, I think it's always about the medium, if that's exactly what you need, given the objectives that you have for your learners as well. I think it leads back to this idea like virtual reality, like we spent a year creating this thing. And now we're finally getting a chance to test it out. And it's because I think users also have previous experiences in game-like environments, and if you create a scene that doesn't even compare at all with that game-like environment, I think the authenticity of the learning experience is also not going to be as rich as it could be too. So, I think it's still a challenge, for sure.
I think you just broached a really important question that I don't know if this group's going to be excited to get to in the next 4 days. The notion of using the appropriate technology to reach the learning objective. To be educational objective driven, and not tech driven. Not using VR for VR's sake, but using VR because it affords an educational opportunity that otherwise couldn't be reached. And I don't know all the answers. It's like the example I use when I talk to people like clickers. Everybody loves using different clickers. Well, if I got a group of 30, why don't we just use index cards? Or why don't I just use, my technology can be a sheet of cardboard paper that they fold up and hold up A, B, C, or D and do group audience response. So is it necessary that we do all the fancy tuning protocol, click-ins? I don't know. That's interesting. When we start talking about the energy we put in to do this, as all of us as faculty members and engaged in all the work that we have to do, are we using it on rich questions and rich learning objectives where we couldn't otherwise do in the classroom that we're at? I don't know that. That's not a good question. Not a question. It's just that you got me excited when you put that out there. That's what we can engage in.
No, that's huge. I mean, that's fantastic. 4-day question sort of ruminate on. I mean, I think for us, I think back to VR, like I get tired. Like my body felt the experience of like trying to just move a banana from one room to the other.
I mean, 20 minutes is about what they say is like a cap.
Right. And so I mean, we've got to explore that, and like that. Then that leads to questions around like, what does it mean that we have this learning experience that we designed, but it's actually like it's a 20-minute cap? And so, from like learning theory, like a 20-minute cap's kind of ridiculous. We know that people don't learn in 20-minute caps, but here we are creating massive environments that are hoping that in that 20-minute cap it's going to do something. So I think that's where there's how do you create a sort of cyclical nature that might be in and out of these environments or back into it or to alternative settings as well too.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah.